Hi there, my name is Kay Moon and I'm a twin flame channel and Western astrologer, and this is a video about the new moon in Aquarius taking place on February 9th, 2024 at 5:58 p.m. Eastern. If you happen to be on the eastern seaboard of the United States, this is the update for the Twin Flame and Divine Counterpart Collective. Couple of announcements, well, four specific announcements before we get started. On Thursday, February 8th at 4 p.m. Eastern, I will be hosting a live broadcast on the meaning of Pluto and Aquarius for all 12 signs. So hopefully you'll be able to join me for that. It'll be right here on YouTube and it'll remain. If you miss it, can't join live, just listen to the recording when you have time. Second announcement, readings are available for the month of February. So if you would like to get a Valentine's Day reading, look at the year ahead in love or in connection, access that gateway to union through your own chart, definitely see the community page for some of the smartest love questions my clients are asking at this time. And you can book with me over at kmoonastro.com. Number three, I am now taking podcast and guest host invitations. So if you've got a twin flame podcast or channel or YouTube or TikTok with 1,000 or more subscribers and you'd like to add some content you don't have to create because you like to sit back and interview and let someone else do the talking, drop me a note at KKAY at kmoonastro.com with a link to your podcast or channel, and we can get something scheduled. Right now, I'm scheduling interviews on 2024 channeled messages for twin flames and astrological best dates for love. So if you're up for having me as a guest on your podcast or channel, I'd love to hear from you. And if you're new here, welcome. Always recommend you listen to the Lightworker Energy Update first, published right at the same time alongside this one, to understand why I'll interpret the energies I read as divine masculine and divine feminine the way I do in this update. And then that way, once you've got that foundation, this part two will make a lot more sense. Lastly, oh my God, you guys, thank you. When I asked if you listened to the content all the way through, use the timestamp, how you listened in the last video, you guys really answered. I read every comment and I thank you for taking the time to let me know what's useful to you and how you interact with the content so that I know what to do as we move forward. For now, I'll keep doing the timestamps as long as I have time to do them, since some of you mentioned that you do really use them and need them. Let's go ahead and do a quick recap of this new moon in Aquarius. This new moon is at the 20th degree of Aquarius here, and it's receiving a square from Uranus, a sextile to Chiron from Chiron here, and it's got a trine from Vesta as well. As a brief recap, in the Lightworker Energy Update, I explained how this new moon is going to facilitate some new beginnings, definitely in money and in work, but also in love. I also talked about how the Uranian square is going to bring some unforeseen surprises and invite us to work outside of our comfort zones and take some bolder risks. This trine here from Vesta gives us a chance to explore what we can commit to and talk things through with our collaborative partners. In the other energies available at this time, there are both aspects of tension and aspects of growth that can and will play out in our romantic partnerships, as well as elevation to the next step in our partnerships, whether that next step is closure or that next step is commitment. There are some very important aspects that impact the entire light working collective, including divine counterparts. So be sure to have a listen to the Lightworker Energy Update to get the full story and full picture. Let's have a look at what the divine counterparts are up to at this new moon. We will start with Juno, the energy I read as divine feminine. counterpart, as in the mythology, she is the wife of Jupiter, and here she is retrograde in Virgo at that 19th degree. Sorry, yes, Virgo. She's receiving the same square from the Vesta placement in Gemini there. And she also has a trine to Uranus. Here's Uranus and an opposition from Neptune. Okay, so this energy is interesting because this constitutes a T square whenever we have three planets occupying three of four of one of the modes. And the mode in occupation right now is the mutable mode. And so we've got occupation from Juno here in Virgo, Vesta in Gemini, and Neptune in Pisces. The one that has nothing in these late degrees is Sagittarius. And so the Sagittarian energy is how we balance out the energy of the T square. We occupy Sagittarian energy to balance out the tension that Vesta brings to Juno and Neptune brings to Juno and Vesta as well. The combination of these placements speaks to a little bit of fog or confusion or uncertainty. Do we commit? Do we not? Do we go forward? Do we hesitate? Do we hold back? Do we jump in? Do we jump out? There seems to be with Juno, which represents commitment, and she specifically represents marriage, but in divine counterpart astrology, she definitely represents the feminine energy in the connection. With her receiving commitment influence and dedication influence from Vesta, and receiving kind of some of the fog and the dissolving influence from Neptune, it can be a little bit uncertain which way things are going. And for some people, it's not completely uncertain. It's like, I just don't know if I'm ready to pull the trigger. The way to balance this out, because T squares can create a lot of hesitation, it can create some stagnation. It can also, like I said, create tension. The way to balance this out is to add the sign, occupy the sign that's conspicuous in omission. The fourth mutable sign that has no planetary occupation at this time at those degrees is Sagittarius. When Sagittarius represents our truth, faith, hope, optimism, and our highest ideals. If you're wanting to know which way to go, you have only to lean into your faith, your hope, your optimism, assuming good intent about yourself and the other person. This will help illuminate the possible best case scenarios. This energy is also very counterintuitive, because with Uranus in the mix, one way or the other at this particular angle, there is definitive movement in connection. Things are not going to be able to stay the same. The status quo will not be an option in connection in our divine feminine energy fields. Something is changing under the influence of Juno retrograde, trine Uranus, as she's stationed retrograde. And this change can move things forward toward coming together or toward separation. Elevation of what is or transformation of what is what I've been seeing in my client sessions. But things are not going to be able to stay stagnant for very long or be still or live in hesitation under this influence. No action, the universe will still take as an action and will deliver what's in alignment with your faith, what's in alignment with your hope, what's in alignment with your belief systems. That's all of the things that Sagittarius represents. Unfortunately, under this energy, we will see negative belief systems really come home to roost or bite us in the butt. But we will also see positive belief systems and the assumption of positive good intent delivering really high quality connections and communications back from the people we're in partnership with. Juno is our commitment, energy, and marriage asteroid, and she opens up the possibility of commitment definitely solidifying, likely with somebody we already know, given that she's in retrograde and reviewing, or breaking when she's in retrograde, taking a break from something we already know, something we're already connected with. The square to Vesta here in Gemini, who's all about dedication and follow through, facilitates lots of conversation in the very talkative, chatty sign of Gemini, and dialogue where things stand that lead to clearer conclusions. In the squaring position, these conversations could be challenging or confronting to have, but necessary, illuminating, and provide insight into details and possibilities that need to be accounted for at this time. The Neptunian energy can allow us to stay a little bit more impartial, a little bit more detached. If emotions start to run high, this will give us an opportunity to be able to look at things slightly more objectively and also from a higher spiritual level insight, although there is a possibility of becoming too detached in Neptune's energy here. So just keep that in mind that the best solution is the one that leans into truth, it leans into your faith, and allows your belief systems where there's confusion to lean on those and carry you into the highest possible outcomes here. There's also here a trine from Venus. So we have a grand Earth trine here, and Venus is connected to Mars as well. And this is supporting us to look at our heart's desires and make sure that we build them into any changes unfolding at this time. And again, there's a little bit of hearkening to this truthy energy from Sagittarius. What's the truth of our heart's desires? Knowing that and honoring that, and what we say and what we do will lead to highest possible outcomes and best case scenarios in our counterpartships. When Mars is in the conversation with Venus, as he is at this time, influencing Juno, it adds a passionate energy, one filled with life force, take action energy, get up and go, get up and do energy, a lack of settling. So, whether the passion is to get into a connection, take a connection deeper, get out of a connection, settle unfinished business, the movement here with Mars and Uranus, both influencing Juno, is going to be palpable. For those in some form of established connection in a traditional format for union, you guys may really see at this time, just make a note, timestamp that. You may be talking about moving or relocation together, moving in together or traveling together because Mars's influence is so dominant. You may also be considering ways to take the connection to the next level, whatever the next level is for you. Some of you, however, may actually take a break or pause under this influence that seems sudden or out of nowhere, given the way we also have Uranus influencing a retrograde rather than forward moving Juno. The thing to remember is that with Juno in retrograde, especially in a mutable sign, things will take some time to stabilize and are up for reversal after Juno goes direct in April. This is the perfect time to check our intentions about what we want and why we want it if things are going in a direction that just doesn't really feel aligned with our heart's desires. It's also a great time to exercise faith and dedication and allow that faith and dedication to reveal to us where we're at in our own identity. If things aren't going the way we really want them to go, do we give up? Do we get defeatist? Do we get self blamey? Do we get judgy of other people? Do we presume we just have to work harder, heal more, be more perfect? Or do we have the ability to check our own motives, intentions, and identity and lean into faith regardless of what the outer circumstances look like? The reality is you don't get what we don't get what we earn. We get what we have the faith for. If we had to heal or be perfect in any way in order to actually have a connection, the truth is the majority of people we see on social media or in the celebrity public sphere or political sphere in connections wouldn't be in connections. Do not make your healing a prerequisite for your having. Otherwise, it will always live as a block between you and your union. Really important that we understand that. Simultaneously, it's great to heal because it feels good to be in connection when we are whole, and it allows other people to step into wholeness and connection as well. Is it a prerequisite? Not at all. Is it helpful? 100%. In this kind of energy, we get the opportunity to really look and see for ourselves where we are either using healing, because that's Virgo here, as an excuse to not have connection or a prerequisite that we have to have in order to get connection or be in connection. We'll also start to see where we have had and allowed some of our wounds to be excuses to opt out of connection as well. Okay. Now, um, for those in some form of loose union energy, spiritual union, connection with no label, or otherwise something non traditional looking, this is when you'll find there is movement one way or the other in connection. A shift in you, a shift in them, a shift in either of your lives that brings you closer together or shifts you further apart. You do get choice with this, as always. Changes do not have to move people apart, especially with the way that you can be in conversation and communication because of this Vesta in Gemini, that can allow you to get on the same page under these influences. Curiosity, open mindedness, and expression of your heart's desire in healthy ways can help solidify things that have already had momentum toward coming together or clarify things if they have been gray and uncomfortable. What you do with this is going to be up to you and your connection. There are no right or wrong answers, just your answers and your process in the connection. Again, healing, not a prerequisite. Does it feel better to be in connection when we are whole? Absolutely. But don't make it as a block in order to get connection or to allow someone to be in connection with you. Set good boundaries and have good conversations. It'll work a lot better. For those who identify in some format of separation, okay, you will find if you've got like a no contact, no communication, no anything, not even spiritually, as I mentioned in the Juno retrograde update a few lunations back that you'll find in last year's playlist, you may find that spiritually you get some relief from the pull of the connection as Juno is retrograde. And this facilitates an opening for you to focus on other areas of your life for a while. As I mentioned in the Lightworker Energy Update, there are a lot of key opportunities for change with this lunation and to move our lives forward. So, this energy will prompt us to get on with the ways we're ready to open up to love again, deal with any blocks we've had to love in the past in a much deeper, more profound way, confront any challenges we've had with commitment or making clear choices in love or being committed to, being chosen, being someone else's choice. The Virgo Gemini connection between Juno and Vesta both about commitment because Vesta's all about dedication, Juno all about marriage. This is about choosing dedication and follow through. If you're at any type of crossroads in connection, whether you and your counterpart could use a look at both of your charts for next step in career, home, money, and more in a couples reading, or if you personally at a crossroads in your connection and want some confirmation and guidance on your right next steps according to your divine blueprint for life, then let's talk. You can book a couples reading under relationship readings on my website at Moon Astro for both people to come to. Or you can book a personal reading for you, and we can go in depth about your love life, what's happening, why it's happening, and what happens next. The link to kmoonastro.com is below this video, and we'll talk very soon. Okay, now let's have a look at the energy I read as divine masculine. That is Jupiter, Juno's husband. He is here at the 8th degree of Taurus, receiving a sextile here from Saturn, a square from Mercury at the 7th degree of Aquarius. And then we've got a trine from Pholus here in Capricorn, and we see that Jupiter's headed into closer proximity with Uranus, that meetup coming exact in April 21st. But we also see them coming together, and that's going to be a big time for like reversals and change and shifts for the divine counterpart collective, because it's right about the time Juno goes direct as well. But we see that that proximity is inching closer and closer and closer together. And so Jupiter is already starting to feel some of the influence of Uranus's divine change making hand. With Jupiter in Taurus, there's an ongoing expansion for us coming from the question, how do we make our lives more comfortable, more livable? How do we value ourselves more? How do we grow more from the Taurus perspective? In the divine masculine energy fields, this has been an ongoing inquiry since May of last year. Now, for all of us, this is an energy that invites us to grow into ourselves and who we really are, and for all of us to embrace our feminine energy, because Taurus is the first feminine side of the zodiac. There is an integration and an opportunity for that interior union between masculine and feminine, regardless of your external gender. You may notice that the count, for those of you who identify in the very separative energy of exclusively divine masculine or exclusively divine feminine, we go in and out of that for lessons or leadership. You may notice that the counterpart who's holding more of the divine masculine energy at this time, going through a process of creating greater stability in life, valuing themselves way more in work, in family, in friendships, financially, and making their life more comfortable to navigate in the third dimension. This expansion will help stabilize any union in any stage of union. With Jupiter on its way to a conjunction with Uranus and Taurus, there is a growing energy of dynamic change and quantum leaps forward that really culminates, like I said, in the April-May timeframe. And we'll talk more about this as Jupiter gets closer. But some of you are already feeling the influence of this now and feeling guided to operate very differently in your connection than you ever have before. And not just in connection, but also in life, picking up more of your power and your authority, your creative authority in your life is the way this is unfolding. The sextile here from Saturn is keeping a bit of stability in the mix for us so that we don't fly completely off the handle, changing too quickly. But the closer we get to April and May, the shackles from Saturn come off, and we start taking much bigger steps into the lives that we were always meant to live, the lives of our dreams. But for now, we have a sense something could be better here, something can be different. And the square here from Mercury is opening up our optimism in our vision, giving us a sense of humor about all the changes. Ha 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 ha. And thankfully supporting us to see the silver lining in any changes that seem like they may be outside of our control. It also invites us to have thorough conversations with our collaborative partners and check in about changes we're thinking of making, where they may impact other people. Lastly, this trine from Pholus here in Capricorn is revealing where our environments may have become toxic to us and where we're putting ourselves in environments that undermine and harm our capacity to provide for ourselves and protect ourselves, and undermine our self-worth and self-esteem. There's always a payoff when we do this. So the question we can use, the mercurial part of this to navigate, is the following. I know when I go into Z setting, whether it's a social setting, a family setting, a romantic context, a project, hobby, or work setting, that I consistently leave feeling worse than when I walked in. Why do I insist on continuing to put myself where things are clearly not working for me? What is the payoff? What am I getting out of this? Whenever we intentionally keep putting ourselves in places that harm us or places where we experience abuse, there is always something we're getting out of it. This new moon, because it's filled with insights and new ideas, is our chance to understand that part of ourselves and evolve it for healthier ways of interacting, even if it means not interacting anymore at all. Great time for examination. If there's a hero complex or saving people complex, or an ego thing that you've got something to prove to yourself, great time to examine, what am I getting out of staying in places that have been harmful to me? Now, let me clear some of that up. For those who identify in some format of traditional union with this energy and the divine masculine energy fields, together, the two of you are going to be able to root out places in your connection and in your shared life that you're both ready to up level and transform, whether it's moving together to a new place, moving in together, or even making new joint financial decisions together. I read for a couple this past week who are moving into retirement segment and season of their lives and are figuring out where they want to live, if they want to travel for a while and volunteer, and what their next chapter could look like. Saturn's influence is all about creating boundaries around the thing. Note that Saturn is the planet with rings. So, whether you're literally putting a ring on fingers and establishing boundaries around the connection that solidifies your union, or you are creating new boundaries within the connection that deepens each person's sense of feeling valued and trust in the connection, this is a new moon of establishing and solidifying a new pathway for both people. For all in some form of union, communication will be key. And now is a great time to dig in and talk to one another about what's evolving as an up-leveled priority and what's devolving as a lower level priority, especially when it comes to removing yourselves from environments where you're not appreciated and you're not valued. Okay, great time to be in communication about this. Now, for those who identify their connection in some form of loose union, let me just timestamp that for us. There we go. Spiritual union, connection with no label, or otherwise something non-traditional looking. This is when you'll find something about the connection changes at a foundational and core level within both counterparts. And truly, this will be all through the end of May. The closer that Jupiter gets to Uranus, the closer that foundation piece gets to massive change and transformation interiorly for all of us. The foundation is changing because you both are the foundation, and the interior DM energy in both of you is changing its values. That's this Taurus component and priorities in the first 5 months of 2024. With the energy of this new moon, this is a great chance to give yourself and your counterpart the benefit of the doubt with a clean slate. The truth is, you are not who you once were in this connection, and they are changing too. For some, this will mean getting to know each other again. And as new people, and trusting that your new and improved versions of yourself have much greater stability to offer each other and your own lives than the old versions of yourselves, with some of the greatest changes within each other yet to come the closer we get to April, May, and June. Take it slow. Saturn's influence will help with this. And continue to focus on what feels good, what feels aligned, and what allows you to be whole in your interactions rather than living in the past, what used to happen, what they did before, what you did before, what used to cause separation. The past is done and it cannot be changed. Stop using it as a lens for the present in your interactions. Stay focused, commit your focus to looking for how you are new and how they are new. Okay. Really important as we get into the energies of this year so you can cultivate new timelines. Now, for those of you who identify your connection as being in some format of separation, this lunation will challenge you to keep yourself and your life moving forward. It will facilitate some new ideas about how what you've learned from this love connection has changed you for the better and how those up-leveled pieces of you can be implemented in other areas of your life. And for those of you for whom it has been years, no contact, no communication, spiritual connection has even dwindled, this new moon and all of the lunations through May can bring very deep revelation to you about your opportunities for transformation in your own life. So that as love arrives again with this person or someone new, it can dock, it can land. It will not be possible for you to interact with love in the way that you previously did. In particular, where your toxicity danced with somebody else's, this new moon will provide a lever to release it. Open eyes to potential pathways for healing and self discovery, with some lunations coming up soon for self forgiveness and karmic release during Pisces season. This particular lunation is going to be great for all counterparts of any identification to rectify financial challenges, transform your financial situation. Let's just timestamp that. And find collaborative partners for projects, work, and personal expression in our divine masculine energy fields. It is also a fabulous lunation for building confidence and trust in the way your life is evolving. It is happening for you, not to you. If you and your counterpart would like a reading to talk about some of these changes, over at kmoonastro.com, you can book a 90-minute couples reading where we can talk through the personal changes you're both moving through. So it's much easier to understand how to support one another. And if you're personally at a crossroads in your connection and not sure which way to take things, a personal reading will reveal your pathway in the connection, your access point to union via your chart, and the opportunities for fostering deeper connection this year. Just click the link below this video and we'll be able to talk very soon. And once again, if you've got a twin flame podcast or YouTube or TikTok with 1,000 or more subscribers and you'd like to add some content that you don't have to create because you'd rather interview someone and let them do the talking, drop me a note at kay@kmoonastro.com with a link to your podcast or channel and we can get something scheduled. All right, you guys, I love you. Take great care and we will talk soon. Bye for now.